Alright, here I have 6 plus 4 that are in brackets, which is divided by, let's actually divide there, divided by negative 2. So according to BEDMAS, we have to do the brackets first. So we're going to go 6 plus 4, that's going to be 10. Okay, and then we could drop the brackets, write everything else, divide by negative 2. And then we could go 10 divided by negative 2. Well, a positive divided by a negative is a negative. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. Alright, so let's go down to this question here. So we have 3 squared minus 2 cubed in brackets 1 minus 4. So this 2 cubed is being multiplied by what's in brackets, but you have to remember to do your brackets first. So I'm going to do this guy first. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. Then I'm going to write everything else around it. Okay, now according to BEDMAS, after I've done my brackets, I have to do my exponents. So 3 squared is 3 times 3, so 3 times 3 is 9, minus 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, times another 2 is 8, minus 3. Okay, now after you do the exponents, you have to do the multiplication and the division. So right here, 9 and 8, these are being minus from each other. But in negative 8 and negative 3, they're being multiplied by each other. So I'm going to do this multiplication first. So negative 8 times by negative 3 is going to give me a positive 24. Bring down bring down the 9. And then we could do this addition. 9 add by 24 is 33. And that's the answer. Alright, so here I have minus 3 square brackets 4 minus 5 round brackets 2 minus 6, and then we close both of our brackets. So do the innermost brackets first, which here is the 2 minus 6. So I'm going to go 2 minus 6, which is negative 4. Keep that in brackets, and I'm going to bring down everything else. Okay, so now we have these square brackets to work with. So within the square brackets, we still have to follow BEDMAS, and we still have to do the multiplication before we do the subtraction here. So I'm going to multiply these two numbers here first. So negative 5 times by negative 4. Well, a negative and a negative will give me a positive. And 5 times 4 is 20. Bring down this 4. Then write the rest. Now we do the addition within the brackets. So 4 plus 20 is 24. Square brackets again. And then just do this multiplication. Negative 3 times by 24, well, a negative and a positive will give me a negative. And 3 times 24 is 72. And that's the answer. So here I have 1 over 2 minus 3/4, which is in brackets, and it's multiplied by 5 over 6 minus 1/3, which is also in brackets. So first we have to do what's in the brackets, and these here are fractions. Okay, so first, in order to minus the fractions, I have to get a common denominator within these two. So let's look at this guy here first. And I have a 1/2 and a 3/4, and there's a 2 and 4 here as my denominator. So the most common denominator between 2 and 4 is 4. So in order to get the 4, I have to times this guy by 2, and I have to also times the top by 2. So I'm going to have, in this bracket, I'm going to have 2 over 4 minus 3 over 4. Okay, so I'm done with this bracket. Let's look at this guy here now. I have 6 as a denominator and 3 as a denominator. The most common denominator is 6, so I'm going to times this by 2 to get my 6. What you do to the denominator, you have to do to the numerator, so I'm going to times that by 2. And I'm going to be left with, I'm going to have the 5, 6 that I didn't touch, minus 1 times 2 is 2, 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, so now I got my common denominators within each bracket, and now I'm going to do the operation within each brackets. So in this guy right here, I'm going to subtract 2 minus 3, that's going to give me negative 1. Keep my denominator. Here I'm going to go 5 minus 2, that's going to be 3. Keep my denominator. Okay, now I'm going to multiply these two fractions. So when you multiply, you just multiply numerator and numerator, denominator and denominator. So I have negative 1 times by 3, that's going to give me negative 3. 4 times by 6, that's going to give me 24. Okay, so now I could see that I could reduce this more. I could divide this top guy by 3 and this bottom guy by 3. So from that I'm going to get negative 1 over 8. Alright, so here I have 2 over 3 add by 5 over 6, which is divided by 3 over 8 minus 5 over 4. So first I'm going to have to work with the numerator of this fraction and then the denominator of this fraction, and then I divide both of them. So let's get the common denominator between these numerators here, and I could see there's a 3 and a 6, so common denominator between the two would be a 6. So I'm going to times this by 2 and this by 2. I'm going to get 4 over 6, and then I'm not going to touch this guy. I have 5 over 6 here. Then the bottom here, I have an 8 and 4. Common denominator is 8, so I'm going to times this by 2 and this by 2. So I'm going to have 3 over 8 minus 10 over 8. Okay, now I'm going to add these two numerators here, and then I'm going to add these two denominators here. So I have 4 and 5. Well, 4 and 5 is going to give me 9 over 6. Don't touch the denominator. Divide by 3 minus 10. That's going to give me negative 7 over 8. Okay, I'm going to rewrite this guy right down here in another color pen. So right now I have 9 over 6, okay, divide by negative 7 over 8. Negative 7 over 8. Okay, so as you can see, when I write it this way, this is what we usually see in class, and we know that to divide this, I have to flip this fraction. So dividing a fraction is the same as multiplying its reciprocal. So I'm going to flip this fraction, and I'm going to change this to a multiplication. So I'm going to have here 9 over 6 times by, keep my negative, 8 over 7. Okay, so 9 times 8, that's 72. Don't forget my negative because it's a positive times a negative, so it's still negative. 6 times by 7, that's 42. Okay, so now it's time to reduce. I have 72 on top and 42 on the bottom. I could see I could reduce both of them by dividing both numerator and denominator by 6. 72 divided by 6, that's going to give me negative 12, because don't forget that negative. 42 divided by 6, that's going to give me 7. And that is the answer.